There's a great misconception in our culture about what it means to be powerful. We're taught that power looks like wealth, social status, control, competition, dominance. From an early age, we're sold a vision of success that's built on being above, being seen, being right, being revered, or at the very least, never being vulnerable. But here's the truth. This version of power is fragile, it's performative, exhausting, and ultimately it disconnects us from others and, most dangerously, from ourselves. True power is embodied. It's subtle. It doesn't need to dominate, manipulate, or control. It doesn't need to prove anything. Instead, true power looks like this: the courage to sit with every part of yourself, even the parts you've been taught to hide, even the ones that make you want to crawl out of your skin. It's the ability to be radically honest with yourself and others, not in a brutal way, but in a deeply aware way. The integrity to live in alignment with your values, not validation. The insight to examine your hidden motives and unconscious patterns without judgment. The strength to soften, to let go of control and trust your own inner compass. This is a different kind of power. It is quiet, yet magnetic. It is subtle, but deeply felt. And from this place, something incredible happens. You begin to realize your external reality, your relationships, your environment, your work, your body, are all mirrors reflecting your internal state. And when you're rooted in inner safety and awareness, you stop needing to perform, please, or pretend. You just become. You return to yourself. You don't give your power away, trying to please or manipulate. You don't exhaust yourself, trying to be a certain way. You simply are. And that is more than enough. So how do we live from this place of freedom and power? There are 3 essential paths to living in your freedom and power. Creating safety within yourself by working with the emotional body, becoming conscious of your shadow and unconscious patterns, setting and honoring healthy boundaries. Let's walk through each one, deeply and intentionally. The first and most foundational piece is safety. You cannot live in your truth if you don't feel safe enough to express it. You cannot speak your needs if your nervous system is constantly in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You cannot reclaim your power if you're abandoning yourself every time an uncomfortable emotion arises. So how do you create safety? By learning to witness and hold yourself without judgment, especially when you feel vulnerable. It's easy to feel safe in moments of joy or peace, but true safety is cultivated in the storm, when you're anxious, angry, heartbroken, ashamed. Are you capable of staying with yourself then? Can you breathe through it instead of bypassing it? Emotions aren't problems, they're messages. Psychologically, they act as a guidance system, an internal compass alerting you to a perceived threat, an unmet need, a boundary that's been crossed, or a place of misalignment that needs your attention. To live in your power, you must feel safe to be who you are, with all your emotions. But we've been conditioned to suppress our emotions, especially the negative ones. We stuff them down, numb them out, or try to spiritually bypass them. And when we do this, that emotional energy doesn't disappear. It just gets buried deeper into the body, forming tension, fatigue, burnout, dis-ease. Worse, we become disconnected, not just from pain, but from pleasure too. Because you cannot selectively numb. When you shut down sadness, you also shut down joy, When you suppress anger, you also dim your passion and power. The nervous system needs witnessing, not fixing. So the next time an emotion rises, ask yourself, can I allow this to move through me instead of running from it? What is this feeling trying to show me? Where do I need to hold myself with more care? Because every time you meet your emotions with presence, you send a message to your subconscious. You are safe here. And that is the foundation of real embodied power. The next layer of reclaiming your power is doing the work that most people avoid, the shadow work. Carl Jung described the shadow as the part of ourselves that we reject, suppress, or deny, because it feels incompatible with who we think we should be. But what's buried doesn't die. The shadow leaks out in the form of judgment, projection, addiction, self-sabotage, codependency, defensiveness, perfectionism, overthinking. It's the part of us that reacts instead of responds, that wounds others while trying to protect ourselves. And most of our lives, our choices, our relationships, our triggers, are unconsciously shaped by these shadow patterns. As Carl Jung has stated, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Shadow work is not about fixing or getting rid of anything. It's about bringing compassion to what was once unseen. It's holding up a mirror and asking, what parts of myself do I reject? Where am I still running on autopilot? What am I afraid others might see in me? As you uncover these layers, something beautiful happens. You stop being controlled by them. You stop lashing out or shrinking in. You move from reactivity to intentionality. And this is where real liberation happens. When you bring light to your shadow, you reclaim your wholeness. And in wholeness, there is power. The final piece of the puzzle, boundaries. One of the most important and misunderstood aspects of emotional power. A lot of people think boundaries are walls, that they create separation or rejection, but healthy boundaries are actually the opposite. They are an expression of deep self-respect and relational clarity. A boundary says, I know my needs, I trust my body, I honor my energy. Many of us struggle with boundaries because we were never taught to value our own experience. We were taught to be agreeable, to put others first, to avoid conflict. And in doing so, we internalized the belief that our needs were either too much or not important enough. But here's the truth. Your needs matter. Your energy matters. You matter. When you start listening to your emotions, you'll notice how they try to speak up. These are signals, not flaws. They're pointing you towards something that needs attention, a truth that needs to be spoken, a line that needs to be drawn, a decision that needs to be made. Boundaries aren't just verbal, they're energetic. They begin with you knowing what you need, trusting that it's valid, and choosing to communicate or act in alignment with that truth. And the more connected you are to your emotional body, the easier it becomes to set those boundaries with clarity and love, not defensiveness or fear. Remember, real power isn't about domination or control. It's about wholeness. It's about creating safety inside yourself, facing your shadows with love, and setting boundaries that honor your truth. When you do this, you're no longer pretending, performing, or reacting. You're grounded, you're clear, and you're finally free. Not because the world changed, but because you did.